In this Checkmate Coin Arena, in position, I gained the second place. Marvelous. As Giacomo said in the last call, I have to to do the comment of some games that I play in this tournament. For example, I can comment the games where I lost, for example. This is the games versus Panboy. We have the master database, and so we can use this to see and to verify that this is the correct variation, sure for my adversary, and probably I lost in the opening. So let's see. I play e4 and e5. This is the Scandinavian variation. So I take the pawn, knight c3, and queen a5. In this, I choose this variation, bishop e2, but d4 is the correct. But bishop with bishop e2, I use strange opening. d4, knight f3, so I can use this to reconnect me in the main line of Scandinavian defense. d4, bishop f5, and so bishop d2. I have only 3 gains, and with equally position. Queen c7, and we stop the database master. So in this game I choose the castle kingside, bishop d7, h3, and I can come back to the main line, but I have to play bishop, rook e2 is better, followed by bishop d6, but I don't play this. I play bishop g5, bishop d6, rook a1, and so I lost the pawn. In fact, this variation I don't see that the pawn is pinned. I play with the move automatic move. I take the rook a1 in the f1 square, but is more useful in this position. For example, king h1, but the enemy pawns can advance with castle queenside the attack is very strong. So the mistake is bishop g5, better is rook a1, sure. Okay, this is the game, for example, with Pamboy, and we can analyzing another game versus John Bellion fan with the white piece. I have the black piece. I choose the strange opening, symmetric opening, but in this variation knight c6 is better. Castle kingside, and unfortunately I don't see that there is this trick, and I lost position. Okay, so better is in this case, for example, knight c6, probably knight c6. And so if my enemy can choose d4, I can take d4 pawn, for example with bishop. This variation is very interesting. Okay. Very interesting. Yes, sounds good. Okay, and the last game is versus Pamboy. I take a draw, but I don't know why, because this is a lost game for me. But probably, as you can see, I offer draw continuously, and my adversary accepted at the last. Another Scandinavian defense, d4, 97, nothing game, better than previous, because I can change my bishop with enemy bishop. In this case, I cannot take the pawn, because, for example, if I take the pawn, follow the simple rook f8, and so I lost the position, and bishop e4 is not possible because my enemy can push the pawn, and unique move is bishop d3. 7, okay, but I have the double pawn. I try to offer the draw continuously, but my enemy don't accept it. So at this point, clearly what can do the black. h6. Okay. Take the pawn, yes, but lost the central pawn. So it's better, sure, a move as can protected the central pawn. And for example, this no, excuse me, this is not possible. Can protect the central pawn, but I see that central pawn can be protected, so knight f3 is really a good move. With this move I have a mistake, yes, sure, but a variation I can use, for example, the enemy knight, or not. So I can play f4 and for example these, yes, but I have a mistake, so this I lost another piece, but luckily I gain pawn, and I gain pawn continuously, yes. And at this point my enemy accepted the draw, but sure, he can win this accepted draw, because in the tournament we have only a few seconds to the end of the tournament, so for us is better win 1 point. Okay, so but it is sure last game. Last game, and I can play. I don't know how I can play. Probably I don't change the rook because in this position two rooks are very important for white, and so I won't take another pawn. Yes, maybe. And push. Push, because if, for example, try to protect the pawn, simply I return in this case attacking the knight. And if I don't protect the pawn, the black cannot push the pawn, but can push this pawn. Take. Probably is better check. These. And protected again the pawn with knight. Why not with knight? And so my rook are not in the right position. This, and I have to reposition the piece, and black can to attack my pawn structure. Okay, I think that it's all. I don't want commented the win, but I prefer commented the draw and the lost game. Another draw game, but probably I can win, but I don't see in the last the right. So I have mistake. For example, right in the no opening. Luckily, I gain a draw. I don't know what I can how I can gain this draw, but let's see. Okay, attacking the queen and knight a4. The threat is this knight d3 check. So move the knight, the king, and probably this position. The main problem of my adversary is that the king is not covered by the pawn, and for this I use these four. Use my knight, and fortunately I have a double. So I gain the quality. Yes, I gain the quality, and by this I change all my piece for the end game. Okay, I give my enemy a pawn. And in this position, the right okay, the right move I see in the last part of the game probably is this push, and I use my rook to take the pawn. Yes, it's possible defend the pawn, this pawn and this other pawn, and this game I don't know. For example, this. Yes, they can defend the pawn, but not on the pawn. So this is the right move. But I lost the train, and I lost the moment, and I try to play, but there is a position, the triple position, repetition in position, and so it's draw. Okay, that's all. I can take a screenshot of this this moment, and I can publish this video in the Chesscoin team. So goodbye everyone, and see you next time.